Good morning on this very wet Monday morning. Well, it's wet here, very wet in Ireland, in Kerry. Welcome to my Monday messages. And for those of you who don't know me, my name's Rebecca and I am a QTT personal development coach, mentor and homeopath. And I use all three methods to help as many people as I can to be as healthy and happy as they can, and most importantly, how to stay that way. So my Monday messages are part of my commitment to that, and in sharing on a weekly basis a thought, a simple practice, an idea, anything really that comes to me that may be helpful to you in making positive changes and growing into the best version of you that you can possibly be. So you're very, very welcome if you're joining me live, and you're also equally welcome if you're watching the replay. Thank you. I can see there's a couple of you on this morning, and because I haven't got my glasses on, I can't see who it is. No, I still can't see who it is. So if you want to give me a thumbs up or a heart or just introduce yourself, that would be lovely. Just wondering, while we're waiting for maybe a few more people to pop on, I was just wondering how you got on with last week's video, where I talked about becoming a bit more conscious of our outer and our inner newsfeed, and just taking a bit more control of that and working out what might be triggering you in a negative way and what could also trigger you in a positive way, and just maybe taking control of that so that you can actually have greater control over how you feel about things and how you feel actually throughout the day. So just wondering how you got on with that. Just do let me know. And today, actually today's weather has made it even more poignant. We've had a lot of wet weather here in Kerry for the last week or so. But we had a few days last week, at the end of last week and over the weekend, I think Saturday in particular, where it was glorious. It was really beautifully sunny again. And for the first time in a few days, I was able to sit out and, excuse me, enjoy my back garden and have my coffee out in the sunshine. And I was looking around at all the plants, and particularly the potted plants, because I've got quite a lot of potted plants outside my back door where I like to sit, because that's my kind of sun trap area. It's nice in the morning to just listen to the birds and look at all the lovely plants. And I really noticed how they have just grown fantastically over the last few weeks. Ideal weather conditions, I suppose, for most of them. In that, although it's been wet, it's not been really cold. I mean, it's, for me personally, I would like it to be warmer. But for the plants, it's kind of perfect growing conditions, really warm and wet. And I was really surprised at how many of the plants had obviously needed to be repotted. They'd grown to the boundaries of the pot, and they're really full and blooming, and they need to be repotted. Some of them need to be put in the flower beds. And it surprised me because some of them I'd only actually put into those pots a few weeks prior to that. But with the right conditions, then obviously plants can grow really quite quickly. So I thought about, okay, I'm really enjoying my lovely time in the sun. Do I want to actually spring up and repot them now? Oh, I don't know. And that made me think about, what I do generally with these plants is, some of them I get round to repotting and I watch them grow again, and eventually they get to go in the flower bed wherever they need to go. And some of them I'm a little bit lazy about, and they end up staying in the pot. And they might stay in that for maybe even a couple of seasons. And what happens to them is that they get pot bound. Their roots, I don't know if any of you are gardeners, but the roots just haven't got enough space to expand and to keep feeding the right level of nutrients and all of the rest of the conditions to the plant. So it ends up in a kind of tangled mess, a root ball that can't go anywhere, and there's actually not enough earth in the pot to sustain it. And it will stop growing, and it will stop producing as many flowers if it's a flowering plant, or as many healthy looking leaves as it would if it was in a bigger container. And it stays the same size, basically. And eventually, if I don't really start to care for my plants and actually put them into a bigger container, they'll die. And that just got me thinking about that whole process and how we go from a tiny little seedling in that little pot. And if we did decide to put that seedling out into the big earth, the big flower bed straight away, the chances are that it would not survive because it's just not strong enough. It's not, it hasn't actually developed the full capability to withstand all the things that are going to come at it if it's actually out there in the big earth, if you like. And I'm sure you can tell already where this is going. But it really reminded me of us as human beings and how we are really hardwired to be constantly growing and evolving, and how it can be quite scary and actually quite counterproductive if either we are not able to do that, or we keep ourselves in that little container that might feel safe, but is actually stopping us from realising our full potential, from really expanding and growing. And that's what we're kind of built to do, really. And I know that because I felt this myself, and I know that for many people I work with, when we reach a time where it's kind of obvious that we need to make some kind of change, that can be really overwhelming sometimes. It can seem too big, too like we're stepping out of our little contained pot and into a kind of endless expanse of change and the unknown, if you like. And it can then mean that we just don't do it. We just stay in our little pots. We don't evolve and grow because it's scary. And that's sad, because it does actually set up a sense of discord between part of us that knows we do need to make those changes, we do need to grow and evolve, and the other part that's going, no, it's too scary, it's too scary. So I thought it would be useful to share the fact that is not uncommon. Most of us will feel that at some stage or another. And rather than resisting it, rather than actually keeping yourself quite small, keeping yourself maybe as a little seedling, that to give yourself the ability to be able to grow and expand, but feel safe while you're doing that, can be a game changer, I think. So if you can imagine yourself as that little plant, being able to go into a slightly bigger pot, not out into the big earth straight away, but just from the small pot into a slightly bigger pot. And then you can stay in that pot, nicely contained, with firm barriers that will keep you safe. You can stay in that pot until you have grown enough that you're feeling that you're just elbowing your way out of that pot as well. And then if necessary, if you feel, yep, I need to make more changes now, I need to grow again, that you can then visualize yourself just going to an even bigger pot. And eventually you may feel then. So I hope my speech wasn't cut off too badly. But basically, I was just saying to think of that process of potting a plant as it grows from a small pot to a bigger pot to an even bigger pot, and so on until it's ready to go into the earth, into the flower bed. So if you visualize yourself doing that, it can just seem a lot less endless and scary and uncontained if you do that. So sometimes even drawing it can help. So if you just draw yourself in your little pot, which is your comfort zone, really, it's the area that you feel comfortable in, that you've been in for quite a while, that you're familiar with, and part of you knows that it's time to grow. So rather than, making it too big and too overwhelming, you just draw another pot around where you are. So you're going into just a slightly bigger comfort zone. And that can often mean the difference between staying small and not allowing yourself that growth, that development, and that creativity, and going into that wider pot and being able to stretch and grow and just gently expand yourself at your own pace. So I leave that one with you. I really hope that you find that useful. I'd love to hear if you've actually done anything similar to that. Do let me know. Let me know if you're able to use that this week even. That would be great. And yeah, just remember that plant analogy, and remember that you are, as human beings, we are meant to grow and evolve and continue to grow and evolve, but at our own pace. So don't let the lack of a pot stop you from growing. Okay, so I hope that you were able to hear that, because I know the connection's not great today. Do let me know if you're watching this on the replay, how you found that and whether you find it useful. But for me, it's helped stop me procrastinating, actually. Sometimes, obviously being fearful about things being too overwhelming or too big can stop us from doing anything, and that's a shame. So, growth and evolvement is my theme this week. So I want to wish you all a really happy, gently growing and evolving week. And if you'd like to know more about working with me one-to-one on perhaps some other areas that you think might be stopping you from evolving and growing, then do pop onto my website, and the address is in the post with this video. Have a great week, and thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.